going to be working on notifications with family members and meeting with them, and we have to presume that that's what's going on, and that's causing the delay of getting some more definitive information. We're hearing all kinds of numbers, but until we hear it from police and have it confirmed, we're just going to wait for that.
Right. Multiple victims at this point. This workplace violence that took place at the FedEx ground facility, which is out near Indianapolis International. As Ann mentioned, the shooting began at 11 o'clock tonight. Police got there on the scene, saw that there was an active shooter, said that that there were multiple victims. They've been taken to local hospitals with gunshot wounds. There you get an idea about where that FedEx facility is, not far from I-70, very close to the Indianapolis International Airport. The Holiday Inn is being used currently for workers who have left the FedEx facility to be rejoined with family members, because there's some frustration right now because the FedEx workers that are inside this ground facility aren't able to communicate. They don't have their phones with them while they're working. So let's go out to Alan Carter. And Alan, tell us who you've been talking to and what you've learned.
Yeah, Scott and Ann, at this point, not any reunions really to speak of. What you're seeing behind me, these are all family members who are still waiting on information to get some details, some updates about how their loved ones who are working inside that FedEx facility are doing. A lot of frustration, and really if you look at faces, you can kind of see the worry and anxiety on their faces as they're still waiting to get details, because as you mentioned, a lot of them were not able to have their phones on them, so there has not been a relay of information. So some people say that they haven't even heard one word from their loved ones about whether or not they are okay in the shooting. There were some people that did get off of the property earlier this evening, right after the shooting started. As you can imagine, a frantic scene, got as far away from that situation as they can. We were able to talk to one employee. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
And I start hearing 2 gunshots, and I think it's a car muffler going out. I start hearing 3 shots, and I start thinking that it's an engine problem. Then I start hearing 6 shots at once. Then I start hearing 10 shots at once. So I'm at a bench, and so I stand up and I take a look at the entrance door. And by the time I see the door, I see a man come out with a rifle in his hand, and he starts firing and he starts yelling stuff that I could not understand. What I ended up doing was ducking down to make sure he did not see me, because I thought he would see me and he would shoot me.
And so you can imagine the fear that was going on in those workers and what was happening in that situation. So those folks that were immediately in that parking lot area from where the shooting, from what we understand, began, some of them were able to get away. Otherwise, workers are still locked inside that building, and really not a lot of information coming out here in terms of the safety of the people that are inside.
Certainly so frustrating for those family members. Right. You know, these are package handlers, warehouse and distribution jobs, a 24-hour business there. Do you get a sense that the parking lot is full there, and that everybody is just still inside at work and or talking with police inside? Or
imagine that, you know, we're talking about now about a very large crime scene. There were cars that were hit there. So what police are obviously trying to do is trying to preserve the evidence that is there at the scene. We don't know, because we have not been able to get close enough to see, just in terms of what the orientation of where people are at that were working there right now, if they're still out in the parking lot or if they've been able to be moved back inside. But you can imagine that part of the reason why people have not been able to come is because police are still conducting interviews. They're still gathering evidence from the incident that happened here this evening.
Alan, you tweeted out a short time ago some pictures of a car that belonged to a FedEx employee. Can you tell our viewers here on 13 News that story, and hopefully we can go ahead and show our viewers those pictures that you're referring to?
Yeah, if we can get that picture up. What that was is that was a vehicle that was parked off at a gas station just down the road from the FedEx facility. There are several bullet holes. There was a window that was shot out of the back window there. And when I pulled up to the area, there was a person that was walking around taking photos of the vehicle, and we inquired what was going on. They said that that was a family member that was inside, drove away from the scene. They were hit, so the bullets did enter the vehicle and hit a woman. She was transported to the hospital, but at this hour, we have not been able to get an update on her condition.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Alan, that you know, we were talking about shots fired at this facility and it being a workplace shooting, but also, you know, this would indicate that some of the shots were fired outside, of course, if hitting that car. So if that was, you know, fired going into the building or coming out, but there was a wide area in which shots were fired because people were found inside the building, correct? That had been hit.
Yeah, well, from the witnesses or family members that I have spoke to, anyone that's gotten information, most of what they have heard at this hour is that they heard the shots from outside of the building. So I don't know the orientation yet about who was shot inside. I do know that some of the injuries did take place outside, and it seems that anyone that was outside really had the chance to relay some information back because maybe they were in their car, had their phone on them. Mm-hmm. What's really we're not getting a lot of information on yet is what happened inside that building.
All right, that's our Alan Carter, who's at the Holiday Inn there on Stansted Road, right near Ameriplex Parkway. And that is the area where family members can hopefully go if they have family or friends that are working at the FedEx ground facility where that shooting took place tonight at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, we have multiple agencies that are on the scene there. We saw state police, we saw troopers there. We also, the spokesperson tonight, Janae Cook, was with IMPD, who was relaying the information to the media earlier tonight. The Town Place Suites by Marriott, that is where, the Town Place Suites, rather, by Marriott is where the law enforcement are gathering, and that's where they're having their updating of their media briefings. We were told that of the people that were injured, that they were taken to various hospitals around Indianapolis. When there is a situation like this and someone is critically injured or a trauma situation, you certainly do want them to be able to go to a level 1 trauma center. That way, those are fully staffed and they're ready to go the minute the patient comes in the door off the ambulance, and they're not calling anybody who's on call. And we fortunately have 3 of those facilities here in Indianapolis. We have Eskenazi Hospital downtown, we have Methodist Hospital with IU Health, and then we also have Ascension St. Vincent as a level 1 trauma center as well. That's the most recent to get that designation. But when the healthcare community is planning for mass casualty incidents like this, sort of like what we had with the State Fair stage collapse, there is this coordinated effort to make sure that you don't overload one facility. And so when we heard that there were multiple victims and multiple people with injuries, it makes sense then that they would be going to these different hospitals so that they can deal with one patient at a time and not overload all at one facility. We did see Lauren Kostick was over at Eskenazi Health earlier today, and tonight to morning today.
Right. About 11:30 was
earlier after the incident, right. And there was an ambulance with lights coming on to Eskenazi Hospital. Here's some of that footage that she shot with a police escort about the time that this incident, happened at 11, and this was kind of around 11:30 that she took this. So we don't know if this perhaps was somebody who was traveling there from the southwest side or not, but they did say that the people that were injured were taken to multiple hospitals.
So let's go ahead and as we want to show you live pictures there from the Holiday Inn Express. And again, the people that are inside are family members of workers at the FedEx ground facility. And they're all there because they're worried, of course, about their loved ones. They want to know, are you okay? They're trying to get information as much. And you can see a couple of the people here have, I see a police chaplain jacket there, and we were told during our news conference that we heard at 12:30 or so that there were police chaplains being called in to help with these worried family members. And again, just to kind of reset where, in case you're just joining our coverage tonight, we are covering breaking news, this tragic night here in our city, a shooting that took place at the FedEx ground facility not far from I-70 and the Indianapolis International Airport about 11 o'clock tonight. Police responded there to this ground facility there, came upon an active shooting situation, said that there were multiple victims with gunshot wounds, as Ann mentioned, transferred to hospitals here in Indianapolis, and we don't know their conditions at this point. And the gunman that you heard the witness describe was dead. Authorities believe it was a self-inflicted gunshot wounds, that he took his own life, that there's no active threat to the community. And so that's where we are at this point. We don't know how many victims there are. We just know that there are multiple victims at area hospitals. We think that there's just the one gunman. That's all that police have talked about. And you heard the one witness describe the gunman had a rifle with him. And that's all we know about any potential weapons. And the chaplain's office is working with the family members who are there gathered at the Holiday Inn Express, trying to gather information. And they're, of course, frustrated because their loved ones go inside the ground facility and they can't take their phones with them. So it's not like you can text and call them and see how they're doing.
Right. It just really... my heart goes out to these families.
Right.
You know, not only the workers that were there, that were just working, you know, a night shift and you know, trying to do their job, and then get put in the middle of this, and then also their loved ones that are worried if they haven't heard from them.
Right.
And you know, they're separated, and I can just only imagine the anxiety and angst that they're feeling right now. You know, we did reach out to FedEx, and they're based in Memphis, but this is a large presence that they have here, and they did issue this statement. It's what I think is kind of a non-statement actually here, because you know, they acknowledge that the shooting happened, but we really didn't get any new information. But we can read this to you. We are aware of the tragic shooting at our FedEx ground facility near the Indianapolis airport. Safety is our top priority, and our thoughts are with all of those who are affected. We are working to gather more information and are cooperating with investigating authorities. So, and an acknowledgement there from the company that this is underway at their facility, but not really much more than that.
As Ann mentioned, the Indiana State Police and the Indianapolis Metro Police are the two agencies working the investigation. We did get a statement from the FBI saying that they are standing by, that they've not been contacted, but that they would be there to volunteer and assist if they were asked. But right now, it appears to be both a state and a local investigation that's underway.
Yeah, I've been checking, you know, this is made national news.
Right.
It's on NBC News, New York Times, the LA Times. You know, when you have an incident of this nature, and it certainly is, you know, not the way that Indianapolis wants to be presented, you know, to this country. And it's just, we hear about these shootings always, and it seems like it's somewhere else, you know, and unfortunately on this night it was in our community. Yeah,
it's touched the community here of Indianapolis. Again, multiple people shot tonight at that FedEx ground facility. We've got our camera station not only there at the Holiday Inn Express, where family members are gathering trying to get some information, and we've also got cameras posted at a different area, and this is where we expect to hear from investigators whenever they bring new information. We mentioned a little bit earlier that Metro Police came out around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and gave us an update and basically brought us up to speed with the information we've been giving you, that the shooting took place at 11 there at the ground facility there on Mirabel Road. Shots were fired. Officers came upon an active shooter incident, that the shooter appeared to have taken his own life, that there was no active threat to the community, that there were multiple victims with gunshot wounds, all transferred to area hospitals. And again, if you've got family members who work there at that FedEx ground facility there on Mirabel Road, you're encouraged to go to the Holiday Inn Express that you see there on that map, not far from that FedEx ground facility, and the chaplain's office is there assisting and helping out with families. And we've been showing some of the pictures and that our crews have been getting of one of the vehicles that was shot up tonight as a result. Our Alan Carter had mentioned this vehicle earlier.
That's right, and he said that he had talked with this person who said that they got this as they were driving away. So, you know, there were shots fired outside. Emily Longnecker had talked with someone who talked about the gunman being inside and him ducking down. So, you know, we had reports from witnesses. We have evidence here of a car outside being shot, and then a witness seeing the gunman inside and wanting to make sure that he can duck down and not be shot. Let's listen to that eyewitness account.
and I start hearing 2 gunshots and I think it's a car muffler going out. I start hearing 3 shots and I start thinking that it's an engine problem. Then I start hearing 6 shots at once. Then I start hearing 10 shots at once. So I am at a bench, and so I stand up and I take a look at the entrance door, and by the time I see the door, I see a man come out with a rifle in his hand, and he starts firing and he starts yelling stuff that I could not understand. What I ended up doing was ducking down to make sure he did not see me, because I thought he would see me and he would shoot me.
Can you even imagine what that
No.
must have been like for that person, seeing that gunman with a rifle opening fire, having the presence of mind to duck down and get out of the way? Again, this map just giving you some perspective. The FedEx ground facility there on Mirabel Road, not far from Indianapolis International Airport. I'm hoping we can take those pictures again of the car that was hit, where you saw the bullet holes in there. Alan Carter had mentioned that the vehicle that you see here is a vehicle that belongs to a FedEx employee, and Alan was told by family members that the woman drove across the street after her car was shot in the parking lot. She was hit and transported to the hospital. So that's at least one of the victims who may have suffered some gunshot wounds. A woman who was a FedEx employee in her car, hit by bullets, drives across the street, and was transported to the hospital. So again, what we don't know right now is we don't know how many people, beyond multiple victims here. We don't have an exact number. We don't know their conditions. We don't know the extent of the injuries. We know very little about the gunman who took his own life after committing this horrible act tonight. We heard the one witness say that the weapon was a rifle, but we don't know any motive at this point. We don't know if there were. We just don't know what other weapons he may have had with him. These are all questions, of course, that we're going to be asking investigators throughout the evening. There you see the Indiana State Police trooper who is there on the scene. A Metro police officer also there as well. So the investigators, you've got multiple scenes here. Of course, you've got the staging area, which is the camera that you're looking at here, where reporters are waiting to hear the latest information. And then, of course, Ann, you've got the actual crime scene itself, which is the FedEx ground facility, where I'm sure that they are going through that facility, canvassing that building, talking to people. Perhaps there are surveillance cameras seeing what may have transpired, and looking for bullet casings, and looking for weapons, and seeing was there anything on the person who committed this shooting tonight.
Right, and if that person was an employee there,
Right.
had a grudge against someone there,
Right.
if they perhaps were dealing with a mental illness or a substance abuse, something was not right to lead to this incident. I was thinking, well, they're not giving us numbers, but they are calling this a mass casualty incident. So what is considered a mass casualty incident? When do you use that terminology? And there are multiple definitions. I was looking this up earlier tonight. And for the Department of Justice and community policing, it's an event in which 4 or more individuals are shot, and that's whether wounded or killed, and that excludes the perpetrator. So that terminology that they're using at least lends some idea about the numbers we might be dealing with. Now, again, a casualty could be someone who has, you could have a lot of people that have minor injuries, and you could have some people that didn't survive the incident,
Right.
So, but, we're talking about 5 really is the official definition for using the term mass casualty that they're using here today.
So we're continuing to, station our reporters not only at the staging area where we're learning more information about this shooting that took place at the FedEx ground facility around 11 o'clock on Thursday night. We're waiting for police to come up and give us more information about not only the victims in this case, most importantly the victims. We want to know, you know, who are these people? And certainly the family and friends who are at the Hilton waiting for information to come in. They're waiting for that kind of information. And we're also trying to find out more information about the person who carried this out tonight, Ann.
Well, absolutely, and you know, we did see that one person was wearing a chaplain, you know, coat there, and just because the chaplain's on the scene doesn't mean, or if you have an appointment with a chaplain, that could be just someone to give you comfort.
Sure.
It's not guaranteed that if the chaplain wants to talk with you that they're going to tell you that you've lost a loved one, but they know that you're dealing with a trauma, you're dealing with a lot of stress, and they're trained to provide comfort.
Right.
And we were seeing everyone kind of standing there in the lobby, looking around, wanting something to happen. As Alan was describing it, you know, they're just, nothing's happening, and they're waiting and they're getting frustrated. But then we saw some movement, and so I'm wondering if that movement out of that lobby there was to gather them to make some sort of announcement to the group. And then again, let's not forget that we're in the middle of this
Pandemic,
COVID and
right.
pandemic, and so you've got people coming together in the lobby with masks, wanting to social distance because they're inside,
Yep.
but then also provide comfort and hugs to people that are stressed. So it's just layer upon layer of
Right.
what makes this really difficult.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, certainly for the friends and family who are at that hotel tonight. We are continuing to get some reaction tonight from Indianapolis Congressman Andre Carson, who goes ahead and tweets this out. I am heartbroken by the mass shooting at the FedEx facility here in Indianapolis and praying for all affected by this tragedy. I'm communicating with local authorities to get all details of the attack, and my office stands ready to help everyone affected any way we can. So there is Democratic Congressman Andre Carson from Indianapolis weighing in for his constituents tonight. He and the rest of the Indiana delegation in Washington paying close attention to this tragic shooting that took place at 11 o'clock Thursday night at the FedEx ground facility, leaving multiple victims with gunshot wounds in area hospitals. And let's go ahead and listen in. Alan Carter is talking to some family members. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Where's mine? I'm happy he's fine.
Yeah. What's your name again?
My name is Jose Lara.
Can you spell it for us?
Joselara.
And you were working in one of the facilities tonight, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just not the one where the incident.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is your name? Creed Dedeaux.
Can you spell it for us?
CreeDedeaux.
Get some rest,
What's
man.
next for y'all? Going home?
Yeah.
Showing you guys over, or how?
No, I drove over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they releasing other people now? Or?
Yeah. They released everybody from my facility. So.
Gotcha.
Did you know anybody at the other facility where this took place?
No.
Yeah, thank goodness.
So how did they correspond to release you guys? Was it like a text message or?
Our team leads. So I guess the supervisor on the floor told the team lead, and the team lead just let the message out to us. And then when we had our 15-minute break around 1 in the morning, they set us down in the break room, told us that basically the highways are closed off, and we just had to stay inside. So yeah. And then eventually after that, they just let us know, hey, you guys can leave. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
so
you.
much. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Be blessed, man. Yep.
All right, so we're catching the last part of that interview. I think his name was Jose Lar, a worker there at the FedEx facility, reunited with his family members and now leaving there at the Holiday Inn Express, having been reunited with his family. Again, the live pictures that you're looking at here, this is the staging area where we expect to hear from perhaps Metro Police and or Indiana State Police, giving us an update on this shooting that took place last night at around 11 o'clock. It was good to hear that worker give at least a little bit of information about what that was like, that they were released from the facility and he was able to get back and get with his family.
Yeah, and so that's good to hear, because, you know, we were wondering if they were still waiting inside, but he said, you know, we were all said we could go home, and certainly you could see the relief of that a woman there. I don't know if that was a sister, a mother, a friend, a neighbor, but just happy to see that he was okay. And, you know, so many people wanting that to be their reality tonight.
Sure.
And we just don't know yet how many people have been injured, if anyone has died other than the gunman. I'm seeing reports of, just some really staggering numbers, but we have not gotten anything officially confirmed from police at this time.
Right, and again, we are waiting for police to come up to the microphones and give us an update. Hopefully they will give us some numbers and give us some more details about that shooting that took place at the FedEx ground facility there that happened at 11 o'clock on Thursday night. Police say that they got a call that there were shots fired at that FedEx facility, which is not far from the Indianapolis International Airport. Officers got to the scene, saw an active shooter, said that the shooter took his own life, that there was no active threat to the community, that there were multiple victims with gunshot wounds transferred to area hospitals. We saw at least one ambulance arrive at Eskenazi Hospital around 12 or so, and presumably with one of the victims. We've shown you some pictures of at least one FedEx employee vehicle that had been shot up with at least 3 bullet holes. And the person that drove that car, and this is the close-up of the 3 bullet holes that we mentioned, the person who was driving this car here, a woman who drove away from that parking lot, was transported to the hospital because she was struck by gunfire. And Alan, you're back with us now live. Bring us up to speed. We didn't catch all of that interview with that worker. Tell us who that person was and what they told you.
Yeah, so that was an individual that you just saw here. He got released and was able to drive back over. He worked at a different facility, so this is an area that was separate from where the shooting actually took place. But as you can imagine, word spread very quickly, and there was a lockdown situation there. Was finally able to get out here. He had family members that were out here waiting to get information, and you can kind of see the emotion, more so in the family that were hoping that he was okay. And you could kind of see in their faces as they were crying, but able to get that reunion, and now they're just headed home. So there is information starting to come back. So we haven't seen any other workers come, but we're starting to see people get on the phones or get details from their loved ones. So it seems like people are being able to get in contact with some of the people that they are here waiting to get information on, because otherwise before that it's been a very tense situation, because people said they just didn't know. They're hearing situations about casualties but don't know if that involves people that they care about, because they have not been able to get in touch.
And have you gotten any indication, Alan, of when we are going to get that next update from authorities?
Well, when we talked to police, they were here earlier. They gave an update to family members. It was a closed-door session where they were talking to people, giving them some details about what they knew up to that point. Officers, after that point, drove to another location, said that they would be giving a briefing. We do have reporters out in that area, but they did not give an exact timeline about, when they'd be ready to release that information publicly.
Okay.
Yeah, Alan, thanks so much. Let's go ahead and listen in. The investigators coming up. It's coming up on 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and we hope to get an update here from Metro Police. Let's listen in.
Yes, this lady here is Janae Cook. She is a spokeswoman with IMPD.
To recap what we've already discussed. But just after 11 o'clock on Thursday evening, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department responded to 8951 Mirabelle Road, the FedEx Ground Plainfield Operations Center. We received a call referencing shots fired to that location. As officers responded, they arrived to an active shooter incident at that location. Preliminary information at this time is that the alleged shooter has taken his own life here at the scene. After a preliminary search of the grounds, inside and out, we have located 8 people at the scene with injuries consistent to gunshot wounds. Those 8 were pronounced deceased here at the scene. We have been made aware of multiple other people with injuries who have been transported to local hospitals or who have transported themselves to local hospitals. IMPD detectives are working with the Indiana State Police detectives, gathering information and interviewing not just those people who are here at the scene, but also those who have gone to area hospitals seeking medical treatment. A family unification center has been established at the Holiday Inn Express, 8555 Stansted Drive. Our victims assistance units and chaplain's office are here at the scene and at the Family Unification Center, assisting with family members who have shown up to this area. Right now, I want to let everybody know that people here at the scene are still being interviewed by detectives. So they may not have an opportunity to contact their family, but as soon as they are available to, they will. For any and all information about this situation, we're asking that the primary information comes from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department Public Affairs Office. We will be your source for the most accurate and up-to-date information. You can reach us at impd.publicaffairs@indy.gov for information. Anyone that was here and who left the scene to seek medical treatment or just for safety, we ask that you contact either 262-TIPS and give us your information and anything that you may know, or contact our homicide office at 317-327-3475. It's important to know that emotions are very high here. There are a lot of people, not just officers, but family members who are still arriving and still learning about this incident. This occurred after many went to bed, and some are just now waking up to this. We ask for your continued support for everyone here involved. We understand that there are a lot of moving parts, and we ask for your patience as we gather the most accurate information, and so that information comes to you and you can and relay it accurately to everybody else. We don't want to give out information that may hurt somebody.
Janae, can you put this moment in perspective? This is a horrific situation. 8 people dead. This is heartbreaking.
It is very heartbreaking. And in the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, the officers responded. They came in, they went in, and they did their job. And a lot of them are trying to face this because this is a sight that no one should ever have to see. But we, as Indianapolis members, need to come together. We need to support each other and understand that there are going to be people out there that are going to be emotionally upset, and we need to support them regardless of any circumstance. This is a tragedy, but yet through it all, we will come through it, with flying colors.
Can you talk about the bravery?
Can you describe the gun?
No,
Do you have any information?
I do not have that information right now.
Was the shooter an employee, Janae?
At this time, it's still early to tell. They're still attempting to identify different people, and we need to make proper notification at this time.
Have any law enforcement officers been injured?
No, they have not.
When you talk about how many people were injured, Janae, going to different hospitals, can you give us a ballpark at this time? Dozens, hundreds?
No, we know for sure that we had 4 people transported by ambulance, 1 in critical condition with gunshot injuries consistent with gunshot wounds. We had 3 others that were transported with various other injuries. And then we had 2 other people that were here at the scene, treated by medical staff, and then released by that. We've had multiple other walk-ins to different local hospitals around this area. We have to understand that we are in Marion County, but we are very near to 2 other counties, and some of them are going to other counties for medical treatment. So this is where we continue to reach out and find out, ask for them to call us, let us know what they saw, what they heard. It's very important that we work together on this.
Is the suspect the 9th dead or the 8th?
I'm sorry?
Hundreds of people work at that facility. Can you tell us, will it remain open? Or should people report to work? What should people do who are waking up this morning, seeing all of these images and wondering, what do I do? Do I go to work? Do I stay home? What do I do?
I think the best thing for them to do is contact their supervisor. or the Human Resources Office. This building is going to be closed for a while due to this investigation. This is going to go long into the morning. There are a lot of components that detectives need to gather and get the evidence picked up.
Janae, is the number of dead or the 8th?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can you talk about the bravery of the officers and the first responders and those that, as the shooting was going on, were helping each other and making sure that people were safe? Can you give us any insight into that? Because my understanding is that officers, when they arrived on the scene, obviously did their jobs, but also there were good Samaritans who also helped one another to make sure that people were safe.
You know, I don't have a lot of the independent stories that you're looking for. Like I said, detectives are still talking with people. We don't have that information. The officers came in, and without second thought, they went in to try to help people.
Janae, are the 8 dead? Is the gunman part of that number of 8?
No, he would be the 9th.
He would be the 9th. Okay.
And do we know anything about the person who was found dead? Now, my understanding is that he was quickly found by a Metro police officer, I believe 17 minutes after the initial shots. Can you tell us anything about that at all? I know it's an investigation. We don't want to get in the way of an ongoing investigation, but anything you can tell us?
You know, there's a lot of things that we're trying to gather also, but right now it's too early to give out any preliminary information on that. We're still trying to ascertain the exact reason and cause for this incident.
So talk about whether did the gunman go in and just start firing, or were there any hostage?
You know, Courtney, that's something that we're still trying to figure out exactly how, why, what went on, and this is going to be an investigation that goes on throughout the day. We're going to brief again. This will be our last brief from here at the scene, but we will have a press conference later on this morning, and we will notify each one of you of the exact time and location.
Janae, one more question. We're seeing mass shootings across the country. You folks that wear blue or green or brown, as the airplane goes by, are dealing with these situations. What do you tell the public, again, waking up this morning, they're going to see their Twitter feed, their Facebook feed, they're going to watch something on television. What do you tell people who are wondering what the heck is going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, you have to look at your own life and say, look at the positive things in your own world. And you have to keep going, and you got to look for a way to support each other. Whether it's your neighbor, the guy down the street, your family member, that's where you have to start at. And you just keep supporting each other, and it'll always get better. Thank you.
So much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And so there is the tragic news, the absolute worst news that we could hear tonight. A total of 9 people dead after this mass shooting at a FedEx facility on the southwest side of Indianapolis. The shooting took place last night at 11 o'clock. 8 victims and the alleged gunman. So for a total of 9, according to IMPD. Again, shots fired at this ground facility there at the IMPD telling is taking place at the FedEx ground facility at 11 o'clock. Officers show up. They determine that this is in fact an active shooter incident. The alleged shooter took his own life at the scene. Officers there located 8 people with gunshot wounds who died there at the facility. Others had been transferred to area hospitals, and they mentioned 4 ended up going to the hospital, 1 in critical condition. 2 others were treated on the scene and released, and they've had multiple walk-in patients since then.
That's right. And there were a total of 4 people that were transported via ambulance. Only one of them, did she confirm, had a gunshot wound. 3 others, she said, had various injuries. You can imagine there was just so much confusion and chaos. You know, we've had active shooter trainings in our workplace, and you're encouraged to just get out as fast as possible. Don't fight. You know, try to get away, hide away. And you can injure yourself when you're doing that, you know. So we could see injuries of people, you know, and I can just only imagine what the scene was, trying to get away, and the fear. And that number of 8 people, you know, we were hearing numbers earlier that were 4 or 5, and then to hear 8 people were killed. 8 people went to work and are not coming home. It's just, it's devastating news, and certainly with the person being in critical condition, that's another soul that's at concern, at risk right now. And there's also the people that are injured that are going into local urgent cares or ERs as a wake of this incident. Alan Carter is with the families that are wanting to reunite with their loved ones and get updates about their status. There's been a little bit of problems communicating back and forth, whether they had a phone or maybe they were talking with investigators and not able to connect. And he joins us now live. He is at the Holiday Inn Express that's out at Stanstead Drive out there. Alan?
Yeah, and really a somber situation in that room now. As you can kind of hear, just a quiet fell upon that meeting area as they were listening to that press conference and heard about the 8 fatalities, the 8 victims in regards to this situation. Some of them are getting word from their family members, hearing that they are okay, but still waiting for them to be able to get away from the scene to come back and be reunited. Other people say that that are closer to the situation of where that shooting happened, or they believe are working in that facility, say they still have not heard. And there was word of possibly trying to get people's cell phones, because one of the things that we have since learned after talking to some of the family members is that not only are they not allowed to have phones with them as they're working, but in some cases that they're shuttled from one location from the airport out to their work facility, so they're not anywhere close to be able to get back to their car to pick up their phone. So communication has certainly been something that has been a challenge for some people this evening. Relief in some people's faces, other folks still waiting to get information and word from their loved ones.
Goes out to those families that are in this situation right now. I just cannot imagine having a loved one go to work and hear this news around 11 o'clock and hear at 3:11, 4 hours waiting for word and
right.
hoping that it's not your loved one.
Right. So again, to recap, 8 victims plus the alleged gunman. So a total of 9 dead out at the FedEx ground facility as a result of workplace violence that took place at 11 o'clock on Thursday night. IMPD goes out there. They get this call of shots fired out there at the facility. It's an active shooter situation. They go in. They see the gunman is dead. They see 8 bodies on the ground. They take other wounded to area hospitals. And right now it's a matter of investigating this big building out there near the Indianapolis International Airport. There it is, the FedEx ground facility there, technically in Plainfield. And this is now a crime scene. They are going to be going through this building over the next several hours, trying to figure out what happened. How did this gunman get in with a weapon? Where did the weapon come from? What was the motive? Who are the people who have been killed? Who are the wounded? What did they see? And the IMPD spokesperson who came up and gave us an update mentioned that their investigation is taking place at hospitals too, because you had people who drove themselves or maybe got a ride, or doing the walk-ins. Right, fled the scene.
Fled the scene, and it's like, we'd like to hear from you. You're not here now to talk to us. You went and sought treatment, but
right.
We want to hear from you. What did you see? What did you hear? What do you know? What injury do you have?
Yeah.
The why, the how. You heard reporters there asking, who is this person?
Right.
Is this person an employee here? And she indicated that it's going to be a while until we have another update.
Right.
I certainly felt like it wasn't going to be in these overnight hours.
Well, you think about the things that they're going to be investigating. I mean, look, we have all watched all these stories take place in different businesses across our country. They're going to be looking at the ID of this gunman. They're going to look at the vehicle that person drove to the scene. They're going to canvass that vehicle. They're going to find this person's house. They're going to go through their, computers to try to find out, was there any note? Was there any indication that there was violence? As you mentioned, they're going to try to figure out, is this a former employee? How did this person get in? How did they get that weapon into that building? Are there surveillance cameras in the building that they can take a look at, that they can look at they can comb through that video evidence to see what ended up happening inside that facility at 11 o'clock last night.
Well, that's a really good question, because you have to imagine that, they have security, that you
Right.
have to have key cards in order to gain access. And certainly it's been my experience in COVID that the security and the lockdown and buildings is just all that more intense.
Right.
At our own facility, things are different here now. We can't have guests in. We can't let people into this building now at Channel 13 because of the pandemic.
Right.
And we're trying to protect our staff. And you just wonder, how was somebody able to gain access to that facility there? That's a large facility. We're looking here, this is a car, and that close-up shot to that car showed some gunshot holes right there, and Alan Carter took these pictures, talked to a person who said, yeah, they shot at my car. So this is proof that some of the crime happened outside, and some of the people that were injured were outside and not in that facility.
And the investigators are going to be in this facility for hours. I mean, this investigation is going to take some time. It's going to take throughout the rest of the overnight hours into the morning, and they are going to be going through this facility and not leaving any stone unturned, because they need to find out how this person got into this FedEx facility with a gun. We did hear, as part of our breaking news coverage, a witness saying that it was a rifle, so it was a long gun. How did they get in that facility with any gun? Where did that gun come from? Why did this shooting take place? And then they're going to have to retrace and try to figure out again, what kind of vehicle did they drive? Where does the person live? They're going to go back through wherever this person lives and try to figure out motive and try to find out where their accomplices. Did this person get in by himself? Was he helped in? These are all questions investigators are going to be trying to piece together. And now this is a homicide investigation with the gunman plus 8 victims dead tonight at that facility. This is a huge investigation. This could be a national story. And, we're just in the early hours now of our own coverage, trying to keep you up to speed. And because we know that there are family and friends watching this coverage because they maybe haven't heard from their loved one yet. They haven't been able to talk to their loved one who went off to work Thursday night thinking it was just another night at the office. That's right.
Yeah.
And
talking about what are we going to do this weekend?
Right.
And now they're dealing with this situation. I mean, it's just heartbreaking for these families. For someone to be out working, to be doing what they were supposed to be doing, and to be blindsided by something that probably, I don't know, but probably had nothing to do with them, and here they end up being victims. We'll find out. We'll find out if the people were random or not. A lot of people impacted, though, and certainly you think, well, I didn't like my manager, or I didn't like that person that sat next to me, or something like that, if it was an employee. But when this many people, I mean, it just really, your heart goes out to their families. We had heard some reports early, right at the very, very first hour, that maybe there was more than one shooter, and that was not confirmed by IMPD, that there were not 2 or 3 or whatever, that there was one shooter, and that there is no ongoing risk or threat to the public right now, that after this gunman was found with a self-inflicted wound, committing suicide, that the danger to the public had ended at that point. But boy, oh boy, does the grieving and the pain and the trauma, I can't imagine going back to work after being there when something like this happens, and you've lost coworkers and friends, and then you have this guilt. I survived, and how was it that I survived, and that poor person. I mean, I just can't imagine all of the thoughts and fears and concerns that and the stress that people are going through right now because of this incident.
Yeah, in some of our coverage tonight, you saw some of the chaplains that were working with the families at the hotel where the staging area for loved ones. But you know that right now, as we speak, there are chaplains going out to victims' families' homes, knocking on the door and giving the worst news possible that their loved one has been killed in this horrible incident out there at the FedEx ground facility out near the Indianapolis International Airport. So that's one of the reasons we don't have names yet. We don't know the names of those people who were killed tonight. We will not yet have those names until all family members have been notified, and that will take some time for that to take place.
Well, absolutely, and that's the way that it should be.
Right.
You know, I think also, you know, you just really do think what motivates somebody to inflict this harm.
Yeah. So again, if you're just joining us, we're coming up on 3:20 now. This horrible incident started last night about 11 o'clock on Thursday evening. Shots fired at the FedEx ground facility near the Indianapolis International Airport. Officers arrive on the scene. They know it's an active shooter situation. They go inside the building. They find 8 people dead in the building, plus the gunman who took his own life. And right now we don't know exactly how many people are injured. We've been told that 4 were transported. 1 was in critical condition, and there were a couple that were treated there on the scene. And we're now getting some more reaction from witnesses there. Let's go ahead and listen in.
And I start hearing 2 gunshots, and I think it's a car muffler going out. I start hearing 3 shots, and I start thinking that it's an engine problem. Then I start hearing 6 shots at once. Then I start hearing 10 shots at once. So I'm at a bench, and so I stand up and I take a look at the entrance door. And by the time I see the door, I see a man come out with a rifle in his hand, and he starts firing and he starts yelling stuff that I could not understand. What I ended up doing was ducking down to make sure he did not see me, because I thought he would see me and he would shoot me.
You can't even imagine. You're there, you're doing your job, you're working, and you know, you're in the middle of your shift, and all of a sudden you start hearing gunfire, and you look around and there's somebody with a rifle shooting, and you duck down, you hear a guy yelling, you can't really hear what he's saying, what he's saying, and you get out.
Yeah,
you survive.
Well, and that's the thing, is you just hope, you know, you just never know what you're going to do in that situation. Right. You know, are you going to freeze? Are you going to panic? Are you going to be able to get out, or are you just going to stand there and be frozen? You know, right. And I can imagine that so many people working at that facility tonight, you know, really learned how they would respond. You know, were they able to get out, or were they not? And you know, did people have a chance or not?
Right.
You know, did they see it coming?
Yeah, you know, look, our hearts right now are with these victims and with these victims' families. Look, the investigation is we're going to learn more about this gunman here in the days to come. But right now, here in the hours that we're learning about this tragedy in our city, our hearts are breaking with the family members.
Yeah, they're at the Holiday Inn Express right now. Yeah. We're seeing pictures, and we've seen images of them standing there in the lobby. They're trying to socially distance. They've got masks. They're looking down. Yep. They're hopeful and fearful, all intertwined at once. Just praying that their loved one is okay, and not one of these 8 people or other people that are injured. You know, it just that scene there that's unfolding in our community right now as people are anxiously awaiting word is just heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're someone who prays, tonight, right now, is a good time to pray for those families of those 8 people who lost their lives tonight. That's where our hearts are right now, and we're going to cover all the stories. We're going to cover the investigation, of course. We're going to cover all that, but our hearts are with these families. We are hearing some firsthand witness accounts of what tonight was like. And Alan Carter was able to talk with one person tonight. Let's listen in.
I really didn't even have time to process it. You know, I'm inside, my team lead comes to me, he's like, oh, 4 people got shot by the gas station. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. And then coming back, you know, I go back to what I'm doing. And by the time we go out to break, I'm about to get my cell phone in the lockers. They're like, you can't even go to the lockers. You got to stay in the break room. We got an active shooter. We don't know what's going on. So at that time, I really it just took a while to process. Like, yeah, that's a lot going on. Like, they're still out here. So, yeah.
How you feeling right now?
I'm pretty calm. You know, I'm happy. I'm not sure that they catch the people. Did they? I just got off work.
Sounds like he took their life. They took their own life.
Well, I mean, I'm happy that, you know, nobody else got hurt out of this. You know, again, condolences to families that did get hurt. But other than that, I'm happy there was no more bloodshed. So
we were standing back, man, when you were hugging. I mean, how did it feel to be able to, like, you know, lay hands on your family after all this?
Great, actually, it felt very great. To, you know, see them again, because they were telling us they didn't even know what time they were going to let us out. They were like, well, until we clear everything out, you guys are stuck in here.
So for that person, he gets out.
His family's relieved.
Yeah, his family is relieved. And there's going to be a lot of those stories tonight. And we're thankful for that account and thankful he's okay. But again, our hearts tonight are with those families and those victims who did not get out tonight.
You know, I'm looking at the comments that are on the live stream tonight, and just a lot of finger pointing, a lot of, you know, people with a position about guns and positions about you know, the company that's involved and everything. And I just think at this moment and at this time right now, we need to come together and not be pointing fingers. Yeah. I mean, this was an act of an individual that seriously, obviously had issues and serious problems. We don't know what they are, but that's not the act of a normal, you know, someone in their right mind right now. And so let's remember that this is the perpetrator here was one person, and the victims here are many, many others. Yeah. And those victims and their families and these workers, they need this community to come around them.
That's right.
And not to use this as an incident to further divide our community. Yeah. Let's give them support.
Yeah. Look, that's what we're Hoosiers, right? Let's circle around these families that are going to need hugs from other Hoosiers. Let's do that as a community. There's going to be time to have these conversations about these other issues. But tonight, our hearts are with the 8 families who have lost loved ones tonight in this mass shooting at this FedEx facility. We're going to continue to cover this story. We've got our reporters there at the FedEx facility and at the hotel where the families are getting together. Our Sunrise team is coming in. Our digital coverage will continue, and we'll be with you throughout the morning as we learn more information.
That's right. Our team will continue. Yeah. We're going to go home. We're going to freshen up, and then we're going to come right back. And it's going to be a very, very, very busy news day as we get more information. And we want to make sure that we do so in a way that is appropriate and compassionate to these families that are involved. And we thank you for watching our coverage on this very devastating night for the Indianapolis community. For now, I'm Anne Marie Tiernan.
I'm Scott Swan.